The specials featuring the return of Tommy as the Green Ranger were amazing. Here we are on our last stop on the Tommy Green Ranger Worship Tour. We are looking at a bunch of specials featuring Tommy's return to Power Rangers. The first batch of videos we're going to watch are fan films made by Bat in the Sun. They're a small movie company who started making a bunch of Batman fan films as well as run the show called Superpower Beatdown. In this show, they pit fan favorite characters against one another in live action fights. They had a bunch of characters fighting, including Darth Vader, the Predator, Spider-Man, Master Chief, Wolverine, Casey Jones, Harley Quinn, and about 100 other characters. They are the ones working on Jason David Frank's movie Legend of the White Dragon, which I really hope releases sometime soon. Anyways, Bat in the Sun did a couple Power Ranger fights. One featuring Scorpion from Mortal Kombat fighting the White Ranger, one featuring Ryu from Street Fighter fighting the Green Ranger, and one featuring Godzilla fighting Dragon Zord, all of which stars Jason David Frank as Tommy. Now you might be wondering, why am I talking about these films if they're not canon? Well, because Bat in the Sun also made an official short film partnered with Lionsgate, the same company who made the 2017 Power Rangers movie. And it just so happened to star Tommy in a prominent role, so I'm going to talk about all of it. I'm also going to talk about Tommy's appearance in Super Ninja Steel, so stay tuned for that. The short film Power Rangers Legacy Wars Street Fighter Showdown is actually a crossover promotional piece between Power Rangers and Street Fighter, which is the most popular fighting game dating all the way back to the 90s in arcades. Hasbro and Capcom partnered up because Power Rangers had two fighting games on console and mobile. The deal was Capcom would put Ryu and Chun-Li in the games, and while they're at it, make them Rangers. Now I'm just gonna apologize now going forward and be transparent. I don't know the first thing about Street Fighter. I enjoy the series and I like playing the games, but I grew up as a Mortal Kombat guy. So if I get some information wrong, I'm sorry. But with all that said, my name is Rocko from Remlore, and let's dive in. By the way, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We upload videos just like this one on our Remlore channel. So be sure to subscribe with that bell pressed to get notified when we upload. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you subscribe, it would mean a lot to us. The first fight we're looking at is White Ranger versus Scorpion. Before the fight, we have Marisha Ray introducing the combatants and their general backstories. They also got Matthew Mercer, a voice actor who played Iron Man and Stryker from Mortal Kombat 2001, to tell Scorpion's story and advocate for him to win. A quick summary if you don't know who he is. Hanzo Asashi was part of a Japanese ninja clan called the Shirai Ryu, and he was the head ninja. They were feuding with the Chinese assassin clan called the Lin Kuei. Their lead assassin, Bi-Han or Sub-Zero, killed Hanzo and his family. While in Hell, or the Netherrealm, Hanzo was brought back to life by a demon called Quan Chi, who brought him back to act as his servant, but Hanzo only cared about revenge. Being consumed by that vengeance turned him into the most dangerous demon walking Earth, Scorpion. On to the White Ranger, they get Jason David Frank on the show and introduce the White Ranger and tell his story. Jason also roasts Scorpion by saying he couldn't even beat Johnny Cage. I love it. If you've watched Death Battle, for example, you'll know they usually do a ton of research and math to determine who would win a fight, but for Superpower Beatdown, they just have the fans vote on who they think would win. So it's a popularity contest. The fight starts when White Ranger teleports in to stop Scorpion from killing a random girl. As I said, during his initial Scorpion run, he was pretty evil. The fight is awesome with spectacular martial arts and special effects that enhance the fight massively. It ends after White Ranger stabs Scorpion in the head, with Saba killing him. But it's Scorpion, so he'll be back eventually. And we get a nice tribute to the White Light story arc where Tommy takes off his helmet. Seeing the result, we see that it was very close, 51% to 49%. No rankings here for the fights since they're just that, they're fights. There's no story here, so let's just move on to Godzilla vs. Dragon Zord, which, if you're wondering, was the very last Superpower Beatdown. You all know about Dragon Zord at this point if you're a longtime viewer of mine. It's Tommy's main Zord and his most iconic. He's taking on Godzilla, the most iconic kaiju monster. He's been in like 100 films, killing monsters for 70 plus years. Godzilla movies are really fun to watch, just hours and hours of him destroying things. As for this fight going in, it was pretty obvious who was going to win, and popularity didn't matter. In this case, it was common sense. I want you all to just guess real quick. How many times in his 70 plus years film history do you think Godzilla has died and lost definitively? Do you want to know? 3. He's only definitively lost 3 times after a 70-year career of killing the most dangerous and destructive monsters in film history. They don't call him the king of all monsters for nothing. And yes, I know he lost plenty of fights in the past, but he always survived, and 9 times out of 10 he came back and finished what he started. So going in, I knew Tommy and the Dragon Zord stood no chance, but the fight was still very fun. For starters, what I appreciate is that they made original CGI models for this. They didn't rip theirs off from someplace else. They made these from scratch scratch, and they look very good. Tommy even has his new suit, which we'll talk about in a bit, and it seems the upgraded suit gave him an upgraded Dragon Zord. I love that. If the powers are tied to the Zords, if the powers get an upgrade, so should the Zords. Probably also because the original Dragon Zord couldn't move around that well, and this leads to more maneuverability in the fight. The fight is very cool, but you all know the ending. Godzilla blasts Dragon Zord and rips its head off, destroying it. The vote being 38% for Dragon Zord and 62% for Godzilla. The final superpower beatdown featuring Tommy is Ryu versus the Green Ranger. Marisha Ray introduces us to the characters, and you all know Green Ranger's story. It's been the most reoccurring video series on my channel. Check out all my other videos. As for Ryu, he was a martial artist who learned a bunch of key techniques like how to shoot balls of fire and wants to be the best fighter in the world. Again, sorry if I get things wrong. I don't know anything about Street Fighter. I just play the games with my friends. Instead of guest stars, they go around a comic expo and ask cosplayers who they think would win the fight. Because just like me, they're all massive nerds who know way too much about these franchises. The fight gets going and we have a bit more story this time. Ryu is fighting in the street, I know, shocker, and gets challenged by Tommy, unmorphed and played by Jason David Frank. Everyone clears out so these two can have a martial arts fight. I know this whole series on my channel has just been about praising Jason David Frank, and nothing has changed. JDF is 42 here and was dealing with a lot of back problems, but even so, he puts on such a good fight scene. And when he morphs, it's still JDF under there, so my hat goes off to him. He truly was awesome. I also want to shout out Peter Jang as Ryu because he plays the character wonderfully and brings so much intensity to the fight. The fight is awesome, and they really bring Ryu's attacks to life, like the Hadouken and later the Shoryuken. The fight ramps up after Tommy morphs into the Green Ranger, and this suit looks awesome. It's an upgraded modern version that is so cool it actually became canon when Boom Studios adapted it into their ongoing Power Rangers storyline. Another moment of pure awesomeness is when Green Ranger summons the Dragon Dagger and the silver stripe forms on his helmet. Now this looked weird in Fighting Spirit, but here because of the new helmet design, it looks like the coolest thing ever. Ryu is still winning this fight, however, as he destroys the Dragon Dagger and summons his Satsui no Hado, his evil power, which literally translates to murderous intent. It was a whole thing, and it seems like Ryu was going to win. That was until Green Ranger summoned the Dark Saber, and this was really smart again, because when Tommy showed up, his eyes were glowing green, just like when he was under Rita's control in the Green with Evil saga. So this version of Tommy is evil, which explains why he stabs Ryu to death after tanking all of his offense like a boss. Turns out the fans voted 57% for Green Ranger and 43% for Ryu. We now move on to the short film Power Rangers Legacy Wars Street Fighter Showdown, which is in fact canon to Power Rangers to my knowledge. We start off with the Megazord destroyed in the water, and we meet up with Ryu, who has been brought to this dimension, being hunted down by the Power Rangers, the first being the Black Dino Ranger. So if you're keeping track, 3 of Tommy's 5 Ranger forms fought in these films. I love it. The fight is awesome, you know this, and Ryu gets revenge for last time by defeating the Black Dino Ranger. But then Ryu gets jumped by the Pink Time Force Ranger. Awesome Ranger there, and Chun-Li, played by Gemma Nugent, arrives to save Ryu. She's being hunted as well as more Rangers arrive to fight, the Red Mighty Morphing Ranger and the Phantom Ranger. Before the fight breaks out, the Street Fighters get teleported to this temple which belongs to Ninjor. They are joined by Tommy and Gia, the Megaforce Yellow Ranger played by Ciara Hanna, who not that long ago became a mother. Congrats! They tell the Street Fighters about how Rita Repulsa revived N. Bison after Ryu killed him to help her corrupt the morphing grid. Those Rangers from before were evil duplicates they've been creating, and it's worse because N. Bison has Ninjor. They teleported the Street Fighters here to help them, and Tommy gives Ryu a power coin Ninjor made before he was captured. They go to Bison's base, which is next to a destroyed Dragon Zord. I'm assuming those are Dark Zord duplicates that were destroyed because the originals were already destroyed. And Bison is played by Kevin Porter, who is just the best. Check out the Batman fan films he's been in, he's awesome. Our heroes find Ninjor badly hurt, and N. Bison shows up to fight. He's a bad guy in Street Fighter, by the way, if you didn't know, and the fight is on. N. Bison was strong before, but now with the morphing grid energy, he's even more powerful. Tommy and Gia morph with Ryu, who uses the Crimson Hawk power coin, becoming the Ryu Ranger. It's a great design, combining elements of Ryu's design with the Power Ranger look. It makes me wish there were Power Ranger designs for more of the Street Fighter characters. You'll also notice Tommy has the superpower beatdown Green Ranger suit, and he explains that as Ninjor gave him an upgrade. And also restoring his powers, he probably did that too. They all work together and shoot a fireball at N. Bison, but he's not done yet. He summons his Ranger troops, so the fight is on as our heroes charge at them. And that's how it ends. I know, unsatisfying, right? That's because this was a commercial for the game, so it doesn't have an ending, which kinda sucks. That's the end of this special, but how does it rank? Characterization, I'm giving a 2. As much as I love this special, it is just fight scene leading into another fight scene leading into another fight scene. There's no time to delve into anyone's character or have them bounce off each other. The story, I'm giving a 2. If the story is simple, I don't take that much away from the score. But there are also a bunch of holes in the story, like how is Rita around and how can she revive the dead? Plus, there there's no conclusion to this story. Entertainment though, I'm giving a 6. This was so much fun, my favorite characters and a bunch of really cool action scenes. And I liked seeing Gia again, she was heavily underutilized in Megaforce. Importance gets a 2. This is not super important, but it is only the second crossover Power Rangers ever did, the first being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So there is a little importance there. And here we are at the last stop on our Tommy worship tour. I'm talking about the last time Jason David Frank was on our screens as a Power Ranger. Super Ninja Steel was the 25th season in the Power Rangers franchise, so they did a 20-minute special which featured a bunch of returning Rangers. The most prominent being Tommy. I know people criticize this special for being Tommy worship, but honestly I don't care. Tommy is one of my favorites, and I'm glad this episode was all about him. Tommy also made an appearance in the finale of Super Megaforce as one of the many Ranger cameos in the Legendary battle. But he does pretty much nothing except rescue a kid and look stoic, so I decided to just mention it here and not watch Super Megaforce again. JDF also played Lord Draken, the fan favorite evil version of Tommy, in a short ad promoting the Boom Studios Shattered Grid storyline. I didn't talk about that because it was too short and apparently JDF didn't like it that much, so again, mentioning it here. Don't take my word for that though, it's a rumor, I'm not 100% sure. And even if he didn't like the outcome, JDF was so good as Lord Draken, and it sucks we'll never see him play that character in a major storyline. I'll breeze through the premise of Ninja Steel. A group of monsters who run a wrestling show want these things the Rangers have called Ninja Stars because everyone wants to be a Power Ranger. So this season has our Ninja Rangers fighting against monsters every week. Pretty normal Power Ranger stuff. The Red Ranger Brody was played by William Schufeld, who actually reprised the character for Anime Fire or Nerdbot when they made the Ninja Power Rangers fan film called Rise of the Ninja. Go check it out, it's pretty good. The Blue Ranger Preston is played by Peter Sudarso, who also played Marv the Red Hyperforce Ranger. The Yellow Ranger Calvin is played by Nico Greetham, who was a last-minute replacement for the Yellow Ranger after the original guy pulled out for unknown reasons. I haven't looked into it really. The White Ranger Haley is played by Zoe Robbins, the Pink Ranger Sarah is played by Christy Ann, and the Gold Ranger Levi is played by Jordy Weber. They also have the support of their friend and mentor Mechanic, played by Kelson Henderson, who is awesome. He has been in a lot of Power Rangers seasons playing a ton of different characters. He played Boom from SPD, Devastation also from SPD, Phineas from Mystic Force, Norg from Operation Overdrive, Mig also from Operation Overdrive, Flit from Jungle Fury, and Cruz from Beast Morphers. The guy is a hero of Power Rangers, and I'm so pleased this season he got to be a Ranger officially. In the previous episode, the Rangers met these 3 figures wearing these cloaks, and in this episode we were going to find out what their deal is. So without further ado, Super Ninja Steel Episode 10, Dimensions in Danger. This episode starts at Tommy's home in Reefside, where we see Tommy pulling up and calling out for his son JJ. Yes, off-screen, sometime after Dino Thunder, Tommy reunited with Kat and they hit it off again. Dating, getting married, and having a son called JJ. They pretty much confirmed it with a bunch of specials in the Soul of the Dragon comic. As I said when I talked about Zeo, I like Kat and Tommy as a couple, and I'm glad they ended up together. My problem was the butchering of Kimberly's character and failing to have proper resolution on their relationship. And no story thus far has given us insight into the Dear John letter Kimberly wrote, so I'm still salty. Pulling off the band-aid now, however, why wasn't Kat here with Tommy in the opening scene? Why don't you just have the two together as parents when you pretty much confirm it in the comic that came out a month after this? It could have been they were afraid of backlash since everyone ships Tommy and Kimberly, but sometimes you have to put your foot down and say, this is the story we're telling. It's okay if you don't like it, but this is the direction we want to go in. Tommy gets a visit by someone when we get the Ninja Steel theme song, which is a good song, albeit a little by the numbers. The Neo-Saban era of Power Rangers pretty much came out and said, we're just going to use variations of the Go-Go Power Rangers theme. Now, I love the Go-Go Power Rangers theme, so this didn't bother me too much, but I prefer seasons getting original themes. Funny story, by the way, I showed this special to my brother when it aired on TV, and he hadn't seen the end of Ninja Steel Season 1, so when he saw the theme song that had Mick as a ranger, which was a big season finale twist, he was really mad at me. Our Rangers are playing pool in RPM tradition when Mick tells them they get to the base. The cloaked guys from the previous episode teleport in and take off their cloaks to reveal Wes, the Time Force Red Ranger, played by Jason Font, Gemma, the RPM Silver Ranger, played by Lee Ming-hyu, and Koda, the Dino Charge Blue Ranger, played by Yoshi Sudarso. If you noticed, by the way, Yoshi and Peter, the Blue Rangers, are real-life brothers. In fact, when Peter came back to play Marv, Yoshi also came back to play his brother Joe, who was the Hyperforce Green Ranger. I think these two are actually the first brothers to play Power Rangers together. More spoilers, we're going to see more Ranger cameos, and unlike Super Megaforce, we actually have representatives from the current 3 generations of Power Rangers. The Saban era, the Disney era, and the Neo-Saban era. It's nice to have variety when doing team-ups like this. The Ninja Steel Rangers recognize Wes because, as established in Megaforce, there is a Ranger database available to all Ranger teams so they know who Wes is. But they don't recognize Gemma or Koda because they're Rangers from other dimensions. RPM and Dino Charge take place in alternate dimensions if you didn't know. One is Terminator and the other is Jurassic Park. Wes explains he and the Time Force Rangers created these transportal devices that allow allow them to cross space and time to travel anywhere in the multiverse. However, it disrupts the morphing grid, so they only use it when there's an emergency. This was a brilliant addition by the creators. Now that this transportal device is established, we can do team-ups easier, and saying they're limited makes it so there isn't an army of Rangers ready to help in dire situations. And think about where Power Rangers is hopefully going to go. If they do reboot the series, we can still have Legacy Ranger cameos to help with these devices. Wes says that multiple Rangers have been disappearing and they wanted to make sure the Ninja Steel Rangers were okay before recruiting Tommy to help them. They drive over to Reefside where they see Tommy with a monster called Lord Draven, the evil ruler of a dimension called the Antiverse, and mortal enemy of multiple Ranger teams. They meet up with Madame Odious, the main villain of Super Ninja Steel, played by Jackie Drew. Draven reveals her robot version of Tommy has captured 7 Rangers, because everybody trusts Tommy. He's the greatest Ranger ever. Earlier in this season, Odious made a robot human, by the way, so this isn't an out-of-nowhere thing. Odious made a deal with Draven that once he takes over, he'll give this world to her. And he'll do that once he fires these mega arrows at the dimensional barrier, which will let his army through. The bad guys go to the Antiverse and our heroes follow. Robot Tommy goes into the room where all the Rangers are being kept and used to make Robot Rangers. Power Rangers, but with black gloves, black boots, and spiky shoulder pads. Their captives include Rocky, the Red Ranger, Kat, the Pink Turbo Ranger, TJ, the Blue Space Ranger, played by Selwyn Ward, Trent, the White Dino Ranger, yes, he's back! Antonio, the Gold Samurai Ranger, played by Steven Skyler, and Gia, the Megaforce Yellow Ranger. What I like about all these Ranger cameos is among them, so many of them have a connection to Tommy. He's married to Kat, and he's friends with Rocky, TJ, Trent, and Gia. As they're making robots, Tommy escapes and damages the cloning computer, but Draven doesn't care because he has a big enough army, plus he has the Kudabots, the foot soldiers of Ninja Steel Madame Odious uses. If you caught on, by the way, this story takes massive inspiration from the Boom Studios comics, which had recently hit their stride with the Shattered Grid storyline. Draven is a stand-in for Lord Draken, his Robot Rangers are a stand-in for Draken's Ranger Sentries, and the whole shattering of Ranger dimensions is what Draken was doing in his story. Not adapting Draken's storyline for real was probably for the best. That needs 2 hours at least to tell that story properly, not 20 minutes. Our heroes are close to Draven's fortress but get cornered by Kudabots when something invisible takes down all the robots. Turns out it was Tommy using the Black Dino Ranger's power of invisibility. Tommy hugs Wes, but there's no time for that as they have stuff to do, and if you notice, this special has been moving at ultra speed and is not stopped. The thing that really brings this special down is that they get no time at all. They only get 20 minutes to tell this story, and really it should have been 40 or 60 minutes. Because of that, it's just go, 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 go. Story beat, action scene, exposition, action scene, story beat, and so on and so on. There's no time for character development or the veteran Rangers to talk to the main team. There are a few scenes here and there, but very few. Tommy tells them where the Rangers are being held, but the bigger issue is that Draven fired the first mega arrow, and he will soon fire the second. Brody takes his team and says they'll go after the arrows in the base, while Tommy leads the veteran Rangers to save the other Rangers. The Ninja Steel Rangers go into battle with Draven and the Kudabots, and it looks awesome. It's weird because footage used here was from a Sentai movie, which I thought they couldn't use footage from. But since it's from a movie, they have that big budget fight choreography, and it looks amazing. The Rangers do their big finishing strike on Draven, but he, in a pretty cool moment, tanks the hit and blasts them all back, separating the team. Meanwhile, the veteran Rangers blast the computers and free their fellow Rangers. This is also what I mean about having no time for character stuff. We have 10 Rangers in this room, all from different seasons, some know each other, some don't, and all they talk about is story stuff. Give us moments, like in Forever Red, where they get chances to talk to each other, bounce off their personalities, share experiences, talk about what they're doing now, just something. Anyways, all the Rangers run out except for Tommy, who gets blocked by Robot Tommy, and they have a cool unmorphed fight where Tommy gets the upper hand. Tommy shows off his new Master Morpher, which allows him to switch to his previous Ranger personas. It's a really cool concept, but how did he get a Master Morpher? They don't even explain this in the comics. It's still cool though, and I think every Ranger with multiple suits should have one. Unfortunately, this scene of Tommy fighting his evil robot duplicate is severely cut down. Because again, according to Nickelodeon, the episode can't go more than 20 minutes or will bleed into our 23 hours and 40 minutes of SpongeBob. They did, however, put the full fight on YouTube, so I made sure to track it down for this. Robot Tommy morphs into the Black Dino Ranger, and Tommy does so as well, so it's a mirror match. Robot Tommy gets the upper hand and breaks Tommy's helmet. That's cool every time Power Rangers does it, giving Rangers a shattered helmet so we can see their expressions as they're nearly defeated. Robot Tommy gloats, saying Tommy has gotten old, but Tommy shows off a neat trick by morphing into the Red Zeo Ranger, then the White Ranger, and then the Green Ranger, using all of his powers to destroy his robot copy. Brody and Sarah deep inside Draven's base find the mega arrows, and Preston flies them out with his Dragozord. They try to escape, but Draven orders his Ranger army to shoot them down, which they do. The Ninja Steel Rangers are now face to face with Draven and an army of Robot Rangers as he shoots the second mega arrow. One more and the barrier is Rangers will be knocked down and he can invade any dimension he likes. It seems like our heroes are finished when the veteran Rangers appear to help. Yes, they have backup, but they also have Trent, aka the White Dino Ranger, at full strength, so they've pretty much already won. Give him 5 minutes and he can destroy this army by himself. They do a big group morph and again shorten runtime. Instead of doing a cool morphing sequence, they all just kinda morph. Small problem with this though, some of these Rangers who lost their powers just have them again for some reason. Koda and Gemma gave up their powers, Rocky and Trent's powers were destroyed, and Kat passed on her turbo powers. As for Tommy, his green, white, ninja, and black ranger powers were destroyed. He gave up his turbo powers, and his Zeo powers, well, he always had those, so you get one. Now, yes, I know Tommy clearly had his powers when he cameoed in Super Mega Force, but they never answered why he had his powers back. Whatever, the next 4 minutes are packed with this cool fight scene where all the Rangers fight the Robot Rangers and we get to see various Rangers team up. They're jumping around, stuff's blowing up everywhere, everyone is doing flashy martial arts, some buildings explode. It's the pure insanity I expect from scenes like this. They gather together and use all of their blasters to destroy the entire Robot Ranger army. If you didn't know, blasters are overpowered in the Neo Saban era, specifically between Dino Charge and Ninja Steel. These things are so broken. They have unlimited ammo and just destroy everything. I mean it, once they destroyed a giant monster with nothing but these blasters. Madame Odious gigantifies Draven so he can shoot the last arrow, but Tommy summons the White Falcon Zord and grabs the arrow. It's so cool that they made a CGI Falcon Zord and it looks really good. The Rangers on the ground blast Draven with everything they've got, which allows Tommy to shoot the Mega Arrow into Draven and destroy him, which also repairs the dimensional barrier. Tommy and the other veteran Rangers say the world is safe with the Ninja Steel Rangers protecting it and give them a nod of respect, which I really appreciate. The episode ends with everyone going back to their home dimensions, all super psyched to be Power Rangers. Characterization I'm giving a 1. There was no time for anyone to talk or bounce off people. If they had more time, it would have been up there with the best Power Ranger team-up episodes. The story I'm giving a 4. On the flip side, the story is intriguing and strong. An army of robot evil Rangers and a power-hungry monster trying to invade the multiverse is really interesting. Again, the only thing holding it back is the speed at which we need to get through stuff. Entertainment gets a 5. Despite the pace moving like it's a toddler drinking coffee, it's never boring. It doesn't let you be bored because it's moving so fast. Plus, the Master Morpher fight and the big Ranger fight at the end was awesome. Importance gets a 5. This was the big 25th anniversary special for Power Rangers. It's a must-watch. And that, my friends, was the last time we ever saw Jason David Frank in Power Rangers. After Super Ninja Steel, Power Rangers was bought by Hasbro and they had a falling out with JDF. I don't have any official reports and things keep shifting, but the general understanding is that JDF was creatively frustrated at the time, mostly with how they were characterizing Lord Drakkon and how they wanted JDF to play him. So JDF decided to step away from Power Rangers and instead focus on his film Legend of the White Dragon, which is inspired by Power Rangers. It still feels unreal that it's been 2 years since JDF passed away. Go talk to anyone who met him at a convention or someplace else. Everyone will tell you he was just the nicest guy who took pride in being a Power Ranger. I never had the honor of meeting him, but I wish I did. It's thanks to him and all the hard work he put in at the start that Power Rangers was able to keep making seasons year after year for 30 years straight, as well as create a dedicated fan base who still loves Power Rangers to this day, clamoring for the next entry in the series. As I've said in multiple videos, I don't want Power Rangers to end. I want this series to keep going with great stories and iconic characters till the end of time. This way, people can remember JDF every time a new Power Rangers season comes out. It will make younger fans checking out the series for the first time go back and watch JDF and all his adventures. So 20, 30, 50 years from now, people are still going to watch and remember Jason David Frank. The franchise deserves a permanent place in pop culture, and everyone should be grateful we get to watch Power Rangers. I love this series. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.